First, I wanted to start off by saying I'm Sheila Zachar. I live at 7051 Old Brownsville Road. And my first comment is to Mr. Conrad. He obviously never had an hourly wage job. Even at the hospital, the doctors and nurses have an 8-hour shift. Some days you're busy, some days you're not. You don't get rid of your doctors and nurses because you didn't have a busy day that day. All right. My family business is the Memphis Fire Department. My son, Stephen, is a third-generation firefighter, but it doesn't stop there. I've got uncles that worked in the shop. I've had a cousin that's a district chief. I lost a cousin at Larry Mathis in a high-rise building fire on Adams Street. My dad is 93 years old. He served 32 years on the Memphis Fire Department. He fought some of the largest, most historic fires this town has seen. He's at home right now, and he has no clue that we're even talking about this. When he has a good day, I would be embarrassed to tell him that his benefits, the way he took his job and his responsibilities are hanging in the balance. Today, he doesn't know. He thinks he's supposed to report for work, but he can't. I'm invested in what happens to the cities and the employees, to say the least. I understand that to get revenue in Memphis, you have to have money come in. Money makes money. It's been proved that the pilot program is flawed, and I know you know it. It could probably be made more sound with some rewriting or touching up, but as it is right now, it's not really worth the paper it's written on. You might be surprised that companies consider other factors in their decision to move to Memphis, like having a #1 school system, instead of where 10,000 children don't show up for class because they don't have clothes. It's because they don't have guardians that care enough to get them to school. If you want people to come to Memphis, you're going to need safe streets. You're going to have a police department and a fire department that can take care of you. It really is irritating for Mr. Ford to sit with his profile to me. I think that's disrespectful. I'm sorry. Having a #2 crime city in the country is not a big draw for big businesses to come here. Their families, even though we want them to hire Memphians, their families in the core of that company have to move here. Who would want to? This is my concern. With the decrease in the benefits, the city is losing fire and police by the droves. I know for a fact that at last count, 72 paramedics have left this job since January. It takes a fire recruit 7 months before they can work on a piece of equipment. 7 months, but they're getting paid. It takes 7 months. It takes a paramedic 4 years to get trained. Not to mention the additional certificates and training in hazardous material and disaster training. A top-out pay for a Memphis fire private is $50,000. None of them signed up with the intention of getting rich. What they did sign up and what they did write and what they were promised was the benefit and the insurance and the privilege of having those things secured. I'm not sure you're understanding what the money leaving town when a firefighter or a police officer retires, that's money leaving the city. You don't want money leaving the city, but you're trained these people to work here, and they work here because they're devoted. Not to mention the hours of experience and that they've had in their training. They work here because they're dedicated. The men and women who do the jobs that they do, it's not just a passion. It's not just a job to them, it's a passion. When you start hiring people to take their place, because they need a job, but they lack the passion, we will all be in trouble. Money leaving Memphis is money leaving Memphis, regardless of what form it's in. I'm not sure that people you hire and the next wave of employees can handle the horrors that's on these streets. For instance, over the weekend in the Raleigh-Fraser area, during a home invasion, a young child had a gun placed to her head while a man put his penis in her mouth. Meanwhile, her mom was raped by a gun and God knows what else. Although I understand why you wouldn't want to hear that on the news, and it wasn't. We know what really goes on, what monsters live here, because we have to live with that as families, as what our loved ones have to come home with this on their mind. If you don't do something to stop the bleeding of highly trained, motivated fire and police, no one will want to come here. Why is it you certainly understand what it means to give benefits and dollars to companies that may or may not stay here, but the very departments that can keep these streets safe are simply non-essential to you? The men and women that have sworn to serve and protect do the best they can with what they have. How they get up for each shift and face what they have to face is due to dedication, not because they're getting rich. I had to laugh when the mayor tried to sell us on the fact that crime is decreasing. It's not. It's just not. And we all know that it's not. You wonder where mistrust comes in when we hear something like that. My son is a paramedic. About a month ago, he had to attend a 22-year-old lady, young girl, who was 4 months pregnant, and her baby's daddy shot her in the side of her stomach. And she looked at him and said, "Am I going to die?" And he said, "Not if I can possibly help it." But what I'm talking about is what they have to go through, what they see, what they experience. I don't think any of you understand that. You have to do a ride-along. You have to go and see what's out in Raleigh and Fraser and some of the other areas. Our city is so lopsided that gangbangers have so much compassion for their brothers that they drop off a multiple gunshot wound on the tarmac of the fire station because they know, hell, they'll take them to the hospital. We can just drop them off there. Just let me say, I hope that you take a hard look at what you have to do, what has to be done, because you're looking at a Detroit in the near future, and it's coming faster than you would imagine.
Thank you. Heather File.